Hi everyone, this is another tip for sysadmins that want to go ahead and test things out before implementing things in a production environment. So this tutorial basically covers how to connect your internal VirtualBox LAN network to the internet through your host system's internet connection. So when we have virtual machines in VirtualBox, there's a number of ways we can network them together so that they can talk to each other. One way of doing this is by configuring the virtual machine to talk on an internal only network, and we can define that network name. This is kind of like creating a VLAN on your switch, where machines connected to that VLAN can talk amongst themselves and nobody else is going to be bothered by what they're talking about. Of course, there's the other way of, there's a number of ways of connecting that particular machine to the internet. We can use NAT, we can use a bridge adapter, and that will basically allow that particular machine to talk through our host system's internet connection to the internet. The problem is when we connect the systems to the internet in this way, there's really no way for us to talk with the systems amongst each other on a virtual network. The only way to do that is by configuring the virtual machine to be on an internal network, and then of course that internal network is disjointed from your host system's internet connection. So what this video is going to talk about is how to bridge that virtual internal network running on VirtualBox, hosting all your different virtual machines, and connecting that, bridging that network to your host system's internet connection using a virtual router. The virtual router is basically going to be another virtual machine that we will create that's going to run a distribution of Linux that's just optimized for routing purposes only. I'll have two internet interfaces on that particular virtual machine router, one that will connect to the internal network and one that will connect to the host system's network and thereby bridge us to the internet. So here's how to get that all done. And just quickly, so everybody can kind of understand what we're talking about here, this is kind of a visual layout of what I'm going to be talking about. This is my internet here, this is my router at home. I've got the router connected to a TV and a couple of notebooks and my workstation. And on my workstation I am running VirtualBox, and in VirtualBox I've got several systems defined, like a domain controller, a PC, and the virtual router I was talking about, and another member server. And they're all talking amongst each other, but they can't talk out to the internet. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create this virtual router which will act as a bridge between this internal disjointed network and the external network here, and ultimately connect us to the internet. Alright, so let's get started. I just want to kind of show you that this is my domain controller here. It has a static IP of 10.0.0.100, and it basically is acting as the virtual LAN network's DNS server. But right now that machine can connect to the internet. Really, none of the virtual machines that I have on my network can connect to the internet, and they're all kind of connected on this 10.0.0 network. My internal network here, I'm sorry, not my internal network, my host system's network, so the machine that is running all these virtual machines, its network is actually 192.168.1.1, and it's connected to a Verizon router that connects out to the internet using a public IP address. Alright, so that's how everything is configured, and what we're going to need to do first is we're going to need to create a new virtual machine in VirtualBox that will act as our router. To do that, we're going to use pFsense. Now, pFsense is a freely available Linux distro you can download. I'll have the link in the download section and on my article. Just go ahead and grab yourself a 32-bit version of that, and then let's go ahead and create a virtual machine that we can run it on. So that's what I'm going to do now. I've already downloaded the ISO file to a folder on my computer, and I'm just going to go ahead and go through the steps of creating this machine by showing you the settings of the machine that I've already created. So Under general settings, it's pretty vanilla. We haven't really made any default changes except for the name, and I've chosen Linux and other Linux here as a type. I'm also running, it's important to note that I'm running VirtualBox 4.3.8. I'm not sure if any of you guys are running the same version, but if you really don't want to have any trouble with this tutorial, you want to go ahead and go to that version. On the system side of things, we're going to leave things pretty vanilla as well. I just need a CD-ROM and a hard disk. I don't really care much about processors, so I'll leave that at 1. And I don't really care a whole lot about RAM either. I just need 256 megs. I don't really need a whole lot. This is a very kind of basic system. Display, I really don't care about any of that because it's going to be just running the shell. Storage, I do want to have a hard drive because I might want to go ahead and save my configuration to the hard disk and boot it from there a little bit faster than going off of the live ISO CD every time. I don't really need an audio controller or a USB controller, so I can disable those things. The only thing I really do need is 2 network adapters. So the first network adapter, I'm going to go ahead and use that as my bridge to my host system's internet connection. So I'll set that one to bridge mode, and I'll go ahead and give that, I'll just leave the default adapter type as whatever pCnet VirtualBox assigns. I'm going to kind of take note of the last couple of digits of the MAC address here because I'll need that later. And then I'll go ahead and for the second adapter, I'm going to go ahead and attach that to my internal network called intnet. This is how all my other virtual machines are configured on their primary adapters. And on this adapter, I'm going to choose actually an Intel Pro 1000. I don't know why, but I had trouble when I used the pCnet one. So I just switched it to the Intel Pro and things were working fine. I don't know if you're going to have the same issue, but just so you know, this is how I configured mine. Also, once again, note down the last couple of digits of the MAC address here. We're going to need that later. Alright, perfect. So that's, in a nutshell, how my virtual router is configured. I'll go ahead and fire this thing up. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start this. It'll boot off the CD-ROM. You see here it's booting off the CD loader, the virtual ISO image file that I had mounted. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that. Essentially, basically what we did here is we went to choose ISO image and mounted our pFsense ISO file here and then booted this system up. So it's now booting off of that live ISO file. Alright, perfect. So we're going to get this screen where it'll ask us what we want to do. We'll just say, yeah, we want to boot it up and then configure it. Come on. Alright, so it's going to ask us if we want to set up some VLANs, and it's going to list the interfaces that it has detected. So we see here LE0 is one of them and EM0 is the other one. I'm going to go ahead and say no, I do not want to set up any VLANs right now, but I do want to set up the WAN interface. The WAN interface is going to be my LE0 adapter, and my LAN interface is going to be the EM0 adapter. Alright, I don't have anything else to do, so we want to save that yes. Alright, now it's going to do its thing and basically look at both of the interfaces, fire them up, see if there's a DHCP running on any of them, and assign some IP addresses. Alright, so it has kind of gone and done its own thing here somewhat correctly, but I'm going to want to change some of these things because I don't know if I want it to have that IP address on the WAN or LAN. So I'm going to go ahead and set some IP addresses by hitting 2. And then we'll say 2 for LAN, and we'll go ahead and give it an IP address of 10.0.0.1 because that's going to be, oops, can't use the numpad. And we'll give it a subnet mask of 8 because that's what all my other systems on that network have. This is the internal network, the internal LAN network of my VirtualBox environment. I don't have a gateway, so I'll just leave that blank. I don't want to deal with IPv6, so I'll leave that blank too. I don't need a DHCP server because I've already got one of my Windows servers doing that as part of Active Directory, so I'll leave that disabled. And yes, sure, I want to revert to HTTP for my web configurator. Basically, there's two ways of administering this router once it's all said and done. One is a web interface using HTTP, and one is this shell that we're using right now. Okay, perfect. So that's my LAN interface. It's configured. I'm going to go ahead and select 2 one more time. And well, actually, you know what? The WAN interface has already got the right IP address. Oh, what the hell? Let's go ahead and reset it anyways. We'll go ahead and say yes. We want to. Oh, I chose the wrong thing. We do not want DHCP on the WAN. So we'll just enter a static IP address there. We'll use 192.168.1.29. I'm pretty sure that's open on my home network, so I'll just use that. I'll use a 24-bit subnet mask. The gateway is going to be 192.168.1.1. No, I don't want to do IPv6. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, just supposed to leave it blank for nothing. All right. Perfect. So now we've got an internal IP address of 192.168.1.29 on our WAN interface and 10.0.0.1 on our LAN interface. We should, in theory, be ready for routing. Perhaps not quite yet for routing, but at least we should be ready for accessing this router using one of our internal systems. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get to it from this computer here, 10.0.0.1. Oops, extra dot in there. Alright, so here is my router's interface. We're talking to it on the virtual LAN now, so I'm going to log in using admin, and I think the default password is pFsense. pFsense. Alright, so there's our router. It's up and running. We can go ahead and go to our interfaces, edit the interfaces in case we want to make any more changes. We can go to our system and specify some system parameters. So yeah, we should be good to go as far as all of this is concerned. You can apply changes if you've made them directly from the WAN interface, the web interface of the router as well. And once you've done that, it's just going to kind of reload the settings, and you should be good to go. So let's go ahead and see if we can access the internet on our systems here. Oh, looks like we can get out to Google. So yeah, there we go. I love how Google thinks that I'm looking for testosterone even though I'm looking for test. But yeah, that's another matter. And here we go. We have now configured our internal network, our internal virtual LAN, to be able to access the internet through our host system's internet connection using a virtual router running pFsense. So there you go. If you wanted to go ahead and save this router's configuration now to the system's hard drive, we could hit option 99, and basically all of the configuration and the system files that make up this router will be sent to the hard drive, so that next time when you reboot this particular virtual machine, I'll just go directly into all the right settings to have your router up and running, rather than having to boot from the live CD and reconfigure everything from scratch. So that is really all there is to it. Now I can go to all my different computers and access the internet and be up and running. So yeah, great. And I don't have to worry about having 2 adapters on each system, and dealing with the intricacies of managing 2 adapters, one for the internet and one for the local area network. Each machine is just configured like it would be in a production environment, but they just have one adapter that uses DHCP and thereby connects to the servers and other local resources on that LAN, but also are able to get out to the internet. So there you go.